Reflections on Lesson 35. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. The lesson points out that this is not how I see myself now. I do have glimpses of it now, but it's certainly not consistent. And it's for sure not the way I saw myself years ago. I had a picture in my mind of what holy looked like and sounded like, and that was not me. It explains in the lesson that I've made an image of myself, and that's who I think I am. Part of me thinks that who I am is just a body in a physical world. But the lesson says that I see myself as only that because I don't believe that I am holy, that I am spirit, that my mind is part of God's. The thought that I am holy has taken some getting used to. At a women's retreat, probably 15 years ago now, I was asked to stand up and say, I am the Holy One. They call me Tracy. And I did it, just like all the other women did, but it was awful. It felt awful to me. It felt like such a lie. It did not match the image I had of myself at that time. I wanted it to be true for me, but I did not believe that I was holy. I was raised in the church, but that sure wasn't the message I got there. I was taught that I was a sinner, that I was guilty, that I was separate from God. And I've experienced a residue from that kind of programming. There's an image I still have of myself as a guilty one, as an unworthy one, as a weak one. And that's being undone in me now as I do these lessons. It says that I will believe that I'm part of where I think I am, that I surround myself with the environment that I want, and that I want that environment to protect the image I've made of myself. I'm in that environment because I think I belong there. It's really interesting. Here's a question to ask myself. Where do I think I belong? In the world? In this body? Or in the mind of God? If I want to know how I see myself, all I have to do is look at the environment I've surrounded myself with. It matches how I see myself. It reinforces the image I've made of myself. But this lesson tells me that images cannot really see. What I see through the eyes of the image I've made is as unreal as the image itself. Wow, that bears repeating. What I see through the eyes of the image I've made of myself is as unreal as the image itself. If I want to see what's real, what is not subject to my opinion, I have to look with my holy eyes, with my spiritual eye. I have to look with the part of my mind that is part of God's. That's the only way for me to see with real vision. In today's practice, the focus was on the way I see myself. I started with the words, I see myself as blank. And then I filled in the blank. And I listed the different ways I see myself in both positive and negative terms. And it tells me that it's important to make that distinction, to include both ends of that spectrum. For instance, 1 minute, I'm thinking positively about myself and thinking that I've got some fancy awareness. So I try to help Randy, in particular, by telling him what I think he should do. And as soon as I do that, I'm right back in guilt mode, feeling like a piece of shit for doing that to him again, beating myself up for being so self-righteous. But this is telling me straight up that if I see myself as anything, good or bad, I see myself as something other than a part of God. And I'm seeing myself incorrectly. I'm seeing illusions of myself. But I turned that around in my practice today. And here it is. I see myself as guilty, but my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. I see myself as separate, but my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. I see myself as unworthy, but my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. I see myself as troubled, but my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. They call me Tracy. I see myself as guilty, but my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. I see myself as separate, but my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. I see myself unworthy, but my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. I see myself as troubled, but my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy.